Okay, hello everybody. This is Mike from ZeroBS CRM, and this is our weekly product tour. So starting off as we always do, if you just say hello in the chat, and I will say hello back, and then I will just give you a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about. If you can't hear me, just do let me know. Hi Larry. So I think at the moment you're the only person here. So I'll give it a minute or so, but it might be just a nice little private one-on-one. So if you've got any questions that you want to ask in advance, if you ask them on the questions tab, and then I can answer them as we go through the webinar. And if there's anything you want to see in particular, again, just let me know. So I've got the CRM up and open on my WordPress install. So this is a local host, so it will be showing developer mode. And I've populated it with some demo data. So this is some example data in the CRM. And this is how it looks with your dashboard once it's been, your CRM's been up and running, and you've got some data in there. So I've imported everybody as customers, and then added a few example leads. So this is how the dashboard would look. And as long as you've got contacts, leads, customers, and transactions, then your whole top row will be complete. But if you don't want to be showing that data, you can click the little icon here, and then you can turn those off, and it'll get rid. So if you're not too bothered about that, you can get rid of them. And then also, if you want a bit more space to work with, so we've got our side menu, which is just the standard WordPress menu. And then down here, you've got your settings. So admin will get some additional settings in there. But then if you want a bit more space, because we have our own menu over here to the top, you can just click the logo, and that'll take you full screen. So then when you navigate around your CRM, everything will stay in the full screen. So when you go to your contact list, you'll see it stays on full screen. So this is it's how I prefer to work with it. It just gives a little bit more visibility and a bit more space to work with if you've got a few more columns in your table. So again, if there's any questions as I'm going through, just ask them either on the questions tab or in the chat. So Larry's asked, can that be default for regular users? So it depends what user role. The reason we had a toggle is because some of the standard WordPress things, like adding new plugins, or if you're running a site and you've got other plugins, that you do need to get back to this. But whether we had a setting to be able to effectively force it to full screen mode for users with CRM roles. So we have some settings in the team here. So I've got some example people. And you'll see that some of these have got full ZBS permissions, so I'm WP admin, so I can see all of these extra pages. But if somebody logged on, so if I logged on with this email, then there'd be less on this side option, depending on what you choose in your settings. But forcing it to full screen is something that we might add, but we do have general settings down here, which I can show you slightly higher up or lower down. Yeah, so okay, yeah, so WordPress override mode, that gives you options, and you can do it for all users. So you could say override WordPress for all users, and then override WordPress. So it hides the WordPress header, menu items, and dashboard for users assigned CRM roles, or you can do it for everybody. So I've ticked both, but that'll be every user. So even if you've got editors or authors, they'll be in there. But then you can do other things here. So we can say ZeroBS CRM. So you can call the CRM what you want. And if I save that, then when I refresh up here, you'll see that it's completely changed. So we've just got the CRM side menu. Gravity Forms is still there because I'm admin. So some plugins you'll still be able to see as admin. And with the Gravity Form connector and a CRM, you might want that anyway in there. So that's why that's been left. And then so this example, for example, will be shown there. And then the updates, So I've got a number of updates on localhost here to be going through. So there's a few things that if you forced it full screen, you'd lose the ability to do. So like WordPress updates, but you can override like the posts, the pages, the media parts of WordPress if you just want your users to be using what's more like a CRM as opposed to like a CRM running in WordPress. So again, just keep asking questions because it makes it a bit more interesting than if I'm just going through blindly. So that I've set it to override WordPress mode. So everything in there is now just CRM. So if we go back to making it full screen. So then other areas, we've got the Learn buttons, which will tell you a little bit about each page as you're going through. So it'll tell, and you then can click those and follow through to various features, pages of our website. And then where we've done videos, you'll be able to see a video that will give you a bit of a highlight and a run through of this type of area in the CRM. So then again, contacts. So adding, well, let's go on the view contact list. So if you've got a number of contacts in here, and I've still got the data in here from last week's. So we've got your contact list, and you can toggle by pressing the button there, and it will show you all the other fields that you could put in as your table. So this is why I like to have it a little bit wider. So if we put a few more columns in, so let's say I'd like to see the tags in there, and then you can even put, trying to think of some other examples. So the latest log, you could put in there as well. So then this will show you effectively the last thing that somebody's done in the CRM, and then any tags. So I tagged a number of people with apples just to show how tags works, and then some segments. So again, if you've got people with tags, you can then click tags, or you can click the tag, and then it'll load up the contacts that match that tag. And if you go to segment, so I made an apples segment, which is just another way of refining your group. So you've got segments, and you see Apple segment, and you can take a look at what that segment is. So it's people with a status of emailed and has the tag apples. So in my contact list, again, I've got a number of different statuses. So if we look at emailed, there's no contacts. So then that means there'll be nobody matching that segment either. But if I pick somebody like Joanne and change her to emailed, then when I run that segment, she should come up. So then she comes up because she's got a certain status and a certain tag. So it's a way of doing more customized filters, and those can be used in other areas of the CRM, like in mail campaigns. So can you control the column headings? So at the moment they are, the list is up here. So the default ones are just what's in the CRM. So in the translation file, that's what's in there. So if you wanted to change, for example, county to state. So if you were in America and you don't use county, but we use county in the UK, then you could, that should already be translated in that language file. But if there's other ones that you wanted to change, so if you didn't want to call it work telephone, you could have a look in the translation file. So, and then you could edit the translation there and say, actually, I want to call it office telephone. But then it would change that string everywhere in the CRM. So to do that, you need to download the language file for your particular language, and then open it in Poedit, which is a translation editor, and then you can see what strings are in there, and then you can see what you want them to say instead. So you can customize any of the strings that way. And then the extra fields, if you've got any custom fields, then you can control the name of those anyway. But some of the default ones, like email and name, they're pretty much going to be standard. So using custom fields, if you don't know what the custom fields area is, so you go to settings, and custom fields. So again, you see I've got no custom fields for my contacts. So let's say I want to add some. So the first one, so let's say we have birthday. So we want to start storing someone's birthday. We want to have hair color. And let's have weight. So controversially add weight. And then you can have numeric in decimals. You could have, say, kilograms. So you've got 3 custom fields there: birthday, hair color, and date. And then you can save. So then when I go back to my contact list, and if I edit, you'll see we've got custom fields down here at the bottom. So we can pick a birth date. So just randomly, hair color brown, and weight, I'm going to lie and say 80, and say whoops, and then save. So that will then save down the custom fields that we've just done. And when you go back to your contact list, if you really want, you can bring in people's hair color. So then you can see hair color brown. So then when you go to segments, so this is, I've only got the default segments in the CRM, so I've not installed advanced segments, but you could say Mike brown hair as a segment, and then you could say full name contains Mike, and then you can add another condition. So it's not an option in the default CRM, but if you've got the entrepreneurs bundle, you'll have the option there as custom field contains, and you could say brown. So then what you could do there is then say that's a segment of everybody called Mike, or with Mike in their name, here with brown hair as a so the custom field contains brown. So that's just another way of then being able to filter that list based on various different fields. So you got your filters here as well. So you can filter it via any of your other filters. So phoned, leads called Mike. Or you can make more advanced segments and filter it based on those segments. So the custom fields again, so it is in settings and then custom fields. But then if you go to field sorts, you can then control where they sit in the order of editing the contact. So you may have first name, last name, birthday, address, and then you might even decide to like capture it up here. So instead of scrolling down to the bottom all the time, and if you don't want to show certain fields, you can hide them as well. So that's just a way of ordering how the fields show on the edit contact. So you can hide the numbers, or you can capture like email up top as well. So say you want to get the email first, and then once you've saved the sorting of the fields, you can then go to contacts, and then when you edit the contacts, you see the emails up at the top, and then it's getting the birthday and then the weights like in the top half of the contact, and then the rest is still as it was. So that's contacts and custom fields. Then, yeah, so contacts and custom fields, that's how you work with those. You can't rename the standard fields because some of these are reserved. So like email is the unique identifier for any contact. So if that was changed, then it could cause all sorts of problems. But if you do want to rename something like status to something else, you could do that via the language translation. It's a little bit of the wrong way to do it. But if it really bothers you, you can do it that way. So importing data. So I'll quickly run through the data import. So you go to Tools, Data Tools, and then you can import from CSV. So importing custom fields, you do need to know the value of that field. So if you've got like hair color, and if in the actual contact, so let's go back to the settings first actually. So where I put, it was just a text field. So if we go to custom fields, and hair color is actually a select, and you can have brown hair, red hair, white hair, grey hair, pink hair. So you only have a certain number of options of hair color. And in the CSV, you'd need to put the correct color in there. So you'd have to put brown the same way it's written for it to then map. So it should populate the it should populate the data for the contacts, but we don't have a way of actually importing custom fields. So if you've already got custom fields set up, you will need to re-add them. So brown hairs in the CSV. Yeah. So if you've got a CSV file, and so let me just find an example. So when you are doing the actual CSV import, as before, so yeah, so it's our data tools, import from CSV. So when you're importing from CSV, let me try and find a CSV one. So you're importing from CSV, you start your import, and then on this stage, it'll ask you about mapping. So you have in your CSV file, so you've got a column called ID, then you can map it to like hair color in there. But if you don't have hair color as a custom field, it won't show. So as long as you've got the column in your CSV and you've got this field in your data, you can map it there. It doesn't have to match exactly because you get to choose which column in the CSV goes to which column in the import. So I believe that answers that question about if brown hair is in the CSV but not in the field in the CRM, it won't work. So yes, you do need to have the field in the CRM. So you need to set up your CRM to accept the data and then do the import. So again, if anyone's joined a little late, please do introduce yourself in the chat and I'll just give you a quick shout out. So Larry's asking around custom fields and importing. So he's asked if brown hair is in the CSV but not in the field in the CRM. So the field in the CRM could be empty. So it's the fields in the actual CRM, they're sort of empty by default, and then you're importing the data into that field, if I'm answering the right question there. So it's always, when you're adding custom fields to the CRM area, you'll always have to give it a name, and it'll always come up in this list. So I added birthday, I added weight, and I added hair color. So when you're importing a new contact, they're going to be empty by default. So then if your data's got nothing in for weight, then it'll just import an empty. It'll just be blank. Hi Sally, it's okay. You've not missed too much. So again, if you've got any questions, do ask them in either the chat or the questions box. So importing data in from the CSV, as long as you've got a mapping for your CSV headers, as long as you know what you want to import and then you've planned out your custom fields to receive data. So if you've got in your CSV birthday, weight, height, then make sure that your CRM's got the same 3 data fields, and then as long as it goes in, as long as it matches. So if you've got a select field of like vegetarian, vegan, or meat eater, then as long as the CRM is importing data that matches one of those 3, it will go in. Otherwise, it'll be like a void, so it'll just go in as the default. So text fields, if they're empty, they'll go in blank, but everything else will import as you map it across. So you can actually, so what you're seeing here is when I first set up the hair color in the CRM, I had it as a text field, and then I edited it to be a select field. So I went back and said your hair can be brown, pink, green, and then you'll see here that it's now changed into a select field. But if you've got some data in there, so if you had purple, then it wouldn't match. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I go to settings and put it back to a text field, it's where are we here? So custom fields. So it's always good to make sure that your data is solid before changing things. So if we put this back as text, and then placeholder is just the field placeholder. So text, hair color, and then if we save the custom field, so if you see what happens here, if we look at yeah, so text, hair color, go back to myself, I put brown hair, but then if I do somebody else with pink hair, changing it to a select, I would imagine isn't going to, it's not going to be very happy with. So again, so hair color now is a text field. If I type in pink, so let's try and remember this. Marcus has got pink hair, I've got brown hair, and then if we go back to the list, so pink, brown, and then Johan, we will edit. Let's say orange. So we've got 3 hair colors, and this is a text field. So if you're importing from a CSV and you've got a lot of different colors, and they'll come in as text, but then if you were then to change it to a select field, so custom fields, we change it to select, and we only allow black or brown as options. We save. So again, if we look at the contact list, you'll see they're still stored in the data as pink, brown, or orange. But then when you look at the contact, so pink wasn't one of the options in the select box. So you see it defaults back to black. So it's always, if you are changing fields from one format to another, make sure that you've got the correct list in there. So then if you save this again, it would actually save it down as black. So then if we go to, and I believe it might even do this for the person with brown hair, which is just what I want. So yeah, so I've got brown hair in the data. Oh no, so it has actually mapped okay there. So as long as it's in there, it'll map. If it's not in there, it'll default to the first option, even if it's been imported as something else. No, it won't. No. So Larry said the field in settings won't dynamically load in the results from the text. No, it won't. No. So if you've got a big list of colors and you convert it to a select field, you still need to know what colors are in there. So you'd need to type in pink, brown, orange, red, amber, violet. So you'd have to type them in. It doesn't automatically get it from the data. Okay, so that's covering like the contacts side. So we've done contacts, tags, and segments. And then if you have companies in the CRM as well, then you can, it's pretty much the same thing. So you can add and manage companies. So if you're adding a new company, and again, it's a customer. So say it's Dell. So and then hello@dell.com. So these are just examples again. Save in Dell. So if you're managing some bigger contacts, some big companies, and you've got a number of different contacts at those companies, you'll see here now that we've got, okay, so Dell is a customer of yours, and contacts is blank at the moment. So then if we have a quick look at the contacts, and then if I edit myself again, and you'll see here that there's company. So type to assign company. Dell then comes up. So I've now linked myself to Dell. And then again, if we go back to the contact list again, so edits off the screen a little bit because I've added a few more contacts. So you can toggle that away if you need even a bit more space. You can toggle the sidebar. So again, so let's pick somebody random. So Becky. And again, so Becky will associate with Dell as well. So now you've got, if you go back to companies and view companies, you'll see here that Dell, and you've got these contacts. So then when you're editing and looking at Dell, so this is the actual, if you're needing to edit Dell, when we go back to, oops, sorry, back to the company list. So you see here, yeah, so if we load the Dell view page, that it shows you the contacts who are there working at the company. So contacts at this company. So if you know that somebody works for a certain company, but you can't quite remember the name, then this is just another way of looking at the data. So you can add and edit the information about the company. So if you have the company address, the main company email, but then you know you need to contact Becky who works at Dell, then this is just a way of going around and actually seeing and figuring out which person is that, and then clicking through and contacting them. And you'll see there that it'll show they work at Dell. So that's available in B2B mode. So in the settings, if you need to be managing companies as well as contacts, then you just enable B2B mode. If you don't enable B2B mode, then you'll see that it's just gone from the list. So there's no company option. So there are other ways if you just wanting to tag people with the company that they work at. So if you just wanted to tag, so say okay, it was myself and Becky. So if you don't need too much detail in there. So let's say if you've added Dell as a tag, then you can tag them both as that. So I'll quickly do that. So this is an alternative to working with the whole like new company B2B model. So if you just want like a high level tag option, you can go to contacts. So it's myself and Becky. There's some strange random names in here. I'll add Bunny as well. So us three all work at Dell. So you can tag them. So if you are working at that type of level and you don't need too much detail on the company, then you can always do it this way. You can always do it via tags. So you can see that Dell is now a tag. So if you wanted to see the people at Dell and you're doing it via tags, you can do it that way. That's an alternate way to managing the whole, if you wanted to store the whole company data. So again, if I'm going to move a little bit of this out because it's making my table a bit too big for my liking. So there we go. Okay, so Sally's got a question around contacts and companies. So setting the country as Germany, I see Germany in there. And then when I preview the invoice, it disappears. Germany is highlighted grey. So on invoices at the moment, it isn't outputting the country, but this is something that we've been fed back a couple of times because in Germany you need to put the company, I believe, not the company, sorry, the country, I believe. So we'll be adding that into the template in an upcoming version. I'm not sure what you're asking, Larry, with that question about association being managed from. So again, if you ask the question in the questions tab, I can answer it live, and it'll show up to the other attendees as well. So you know which question I'm answering. So we've got the chat and we've got the questions tab. With the questions tab, it just gives me another option as the webinar host to be able to, it will show up on your screens which question I'm answering. So it would be helpful if you can add that there. So contacts, quotes, invoices, transactions, and tools. So I've been through the main areas of the CRM. Things like invoices. Again, we're making some refinements to invoices to pick up on some of the other German in particular, some of the German areas of invoicing. So again, if you look at the invoices, then this loads up your list. So again, we've got some example invoices in, and this is a work in progress version. So this is showing effectively your invoice, and then again whether you want to allow tax or not. So at the moment, I know there's some things around German tax, so we're building in options to be able to select different tax rates into the invoices. So you can download PDFs, you can preview the invoices, and you can add different line items. So this will be slightly different than your view, because this is what's coming in version 3. And it just gives you, it's very similar. So you've still got your title, description, quantity and price. And you can just add your invoices the same way as you normally would. And again, so we've got a 5. So that's then giving you, like, the total is 15999, and then there are more options in this version for other things like tax. So we're making some improvements to invoicing coming soon. So yeah, so with the actual company not showing on the template, so again, I'll show you on this one. So this invoice on my screen is assigned to me, Mike at 0BS. So then if I download the PDF and click on the PDF, you'll see that it's not got any country on the contact. So that is, even though that's in the record, it's not actually got any company, any country displayed on the PDF. So that is something we're going to be adding, is the option of which additional fields to show, because we've got some other, as I was going on before about custom fields. So in certain areas, some contacts might have like a business VAT number. So if you've got a VAT number that you need to show on the invoice, then at the moment the PDFs aren't flexible enough to do that. But in version 3, we'll be adding the ability to customize the template. So you can add things like the country, you can add some extra information if you need to. So it might be that you want to display the contact's hair color or the contact's weight on the invoice. Although that's pretty relevant on invoices, but that's just sort of the things that we'll be allowing in the upcoming version. So Sally's asked, can I export invoices to Sage so I don't have to double entry them? So let me, you can go to data tools and then export tools, and then you can export invoices. So this says 716 in the database, and you can click export, and that then will generate a CSV file of the data. I imagine it might not be detailed enough. This isn't going to open very nicely for me. I don't actually have Excel on my MacBook. That's not going to work. So this will download the CSV of the invoice data, but I suspect it will have like the contact information. So like who's the invoice ID, the invoice file, like the invoice total. So it's, again, we are currently working through all the data refinements in version 3. So if there's anything for Sage that you do think needs to be in there that isn't in there at the moment, please do let us know. So if that isn't enough data, let us know, because we're now storing the data in a bit better table design. Then we can refine these exports to be more useful for then importing into other accounting systems. So that is definitely something we could do with having your feedback on. If you can send that through to the support inbox, that'd be super useful. Yes, so again, at the moment, it's exporting them all. But what we'll be doing again, if you look at the list view, so you've got invoices in here, and so these are all the invoices in the system, and you can select there. And then at the moment, we've only got change status or delete. So say I wanted to delete them or change status, you can do that. So I could make them all unpaid. So that puts all the invoices to unpaid. So what we'll be doing again, probably shortly after version 3, is improving, because we've refined all the data into the new database. You'll be able to do selective exports. So things like a date range and export between certain date ranges. So at the moment, you have to export everything, and I'm guessing it might not be in the it might not have all the details you need if you're doing like multiple line invoices. So do let us know what the requirements are there. Yeah, so it'd be handy to be able to do it weekly rather than the whole lot. So you can always set up a spreadsheet that would take in the CSV at the moment. So once you've exported it, you could have a spreadsheet that would then effectively highlight certain roles based on the date. So you could have it highlighting in green any that are within the last like 7 days, and then you can just delete any other roles. So there are workarounds, but we will be refining the export area. Okay. So Larry's asked about workflow approvals. So again, I'm not quite sure what you mean there. So that's exporting. So you can export contacts, invoices, quotes, and transactions from this page at the moment. But we will be moving it more to being able to do it via the list views. So you've got the contact list view. And so say, as I said before, when you filtered from on Dell, the end game is to be able to then click like that and then have an export option. Or if you've got, so for example, if I click on customer, it's going to load up. Oops, sorry, that was Dell. Let's clear the filters. So if you just look at customers, then there's going to be a heck of a lot of customers in here. So again, 486. So even at the moment, when you click at the top and it selects them, there's only 20 selected. So we're also going to be adding an option to say select all of the contacts that match this. So across all of the pages. If you want to show more than 20, you can always change it here. Well, so that will show you a few more. So if there, so when you do this again, oops. So it will say 50 selected, but again, there's 486. So as part of the V3, we'll be doing additional options to be able to then select all of them that match this filter. And then additional things like date ranges. So at the moment, you'll see we don't have any date range filters. So like added in the last week, we don't have. But then again, once we've migrated all the data over, this will be something we'll be able to add across the board. So you see that all of these list views are very similar. So contacts, quotes, and invoices are all in the same type of design, but the filters vary between them at the moment. So you've got invoices and quotes are quite similar. Transactions again, if you've got transactions in the CRM. So again, you can do it via tags or status and move things in and out if you don't want to have them showing. But there are, like, again, clicking all of those, you'll see there's not any option to export. So you might want to export all of the failed transactions that you've got in the last week. And that is the type of functionality that we'll be adding as we probably shortly after we release version 3, because version 3 will be fixing all of the data migration and getting all the data in a easier to work format to make things like that easier to do. Okay, so Larry said, say an order is synced from Woo or an invoice in the CRM needs to be approved by a manager. So we don't have approval processes in there, but what you can do it via, so say we have an invoice here, and so say I'm working for Larry, and I've added an invoice, but Larry needs to go in and approve that it's okay to send to the client, if I'm understanding the question correctly. So we don't actually have that. So what you could do, but again, it's sort of like, it's not going to quite work in this setup. So this is an invoice for Mike. You could say, okay, in the activity log, when I go and have a look at Mike, and then you go here. So you could, so you see invoice created number 3762. Then you could add a note here to say invoice approved. So if Larry's logged in, so if I'm Larry, approved by Larry, approved. So it's been approved. Okay to send to customer. So that's adding the log. So then when I go back in as myself, then I'd be able to see that, okay, this has been approved by Larry, so I need to then go and send it. But there isn't anything more sophisticated than that. So that's the only way I could really think that you could do that type of thing at the moment. We do have automations. If, again, this is an extension that I've not got activated at the moment, so I'll quickly, and I've turned my settings to override WordPress. So let's go to settings. So I'll turn the override mode off. Okay, so this should now bring me back. Yeah, so plugins. Far too many on this. So automations is one of our extensions. And what you can do with automations, again, if we go back to ZeroBase CRM, make it full screen again. So you'll see here that you've got tools and automations. And you can do various things here. So you can say on a new invoice, again, you can assign it to a certain person. You can distribute it to a specific role. So if you have customer managers in there, you can distribute every new invoice that's created to a particular role. So if you have an invoice manager, then it would distribute it to that person. Or you could send an email to so the contact owner. So this is sort of a way of capturing it. So every time a new invoice has been created, you could first assign it to a specific person. So if I assign it to Woody, so invoice to Woody. So what this will do is it'll assign, I believe, the invoice to Woody, and then the next you can add another automation after that to say, yeah, so you've got a new invoice, it'll assign it to Woody, and then if you add another one after that, you can then say email the contact owner. So it'll assign the, so new invoice again, so again, send email to the contact owner. So what this will do is whoever's owning that contact, it'll email them to say an invoice has been added, X, Y, Z. So you can do various workflow automations there. I'll be covering automations in a bit more detail in the next webinar on Thursday. Okay, so that's one way of handling various automations. It's more cases for like new contacts. So if you've got a new contact with a specific status, you can then like send an email to like any email address. So you could say email yourself every time you've got a new contact that's a lead, so you then know to go and follow up with that person. And we don't have those triggers in the CRM yet, Larry. So Larry's asked, can you have an automation that triggers after Woody acts on the invoice to send it to the contact owner? So it's sort of like having certain invoice actions which then trigger things. So it's sort of a little bit outside of what's in there at the moment. So again, if we're looking at an invoice, and so say it's been, actually let's pick one that's already been done. Yeah. So say we're editing this invoice that's already been done. Then we've got the status here, so unpaid, draft. So one would be draft. So it's could be related to a status change. So for example, that would be a particular trigger that again isn't in there at the moment. So when invoice changes from draft to unpaid, so if you've got somebody working creating invoices, create them as draft, and then Woody would go in, for example, and change it to unpaid, and then update. So once it's changed to unpaid, then again it's those sort of triggers that you're asking about, that can it then send it to the contact. So we do have buttons on here to be able to actually send it. So you've got preview, download PDF, and then there will be a button to say send to contact or send yourself a test. So there's a couple of actions there. But if there's other things like invoice needs approving before sending, then that's something that isn't in there, and we haven't really had any other requests for that. So that would be something that we'd have to add to our feature request list. So there are invoice statuses. So you can have, but again, at the moment, in the current version that you'll be using, you'll just have draft, unpaid, paid, or overdue. So again, we'll be adding the option to add more statuses there, and then it could be, that could be the way to do it for you. There is these statuses plus triggers. So if it's moved to, from say draft to unpaid, then it could trigger something. If it's moved from paid to overdue, then it could trigger something. So that's the type of things that we'll be looking at again after the version 3. So the version 3 is getting pretty close to being released now. And we've got a few more weeks left of just tidying up all of the little things like that, and then hooking in useful like triggers on there. So as long as we have a trigger in there that fires to say this status has been changed. So at the moment, we've just got a generic one in contacts that says status changed. But they could be extended to say from A to B, and then you could set rules up later in automations to be able to do things on the back of that. But at the moment, actually sending it to the contact is a manual thing. Okay, so we've not got very long left. So I think I've covered the main areas of the CRM. So you've got your dashboard, you've got your contacts, and in there you can add new ones, view, add tags, add segments, and you can import and export. You've got quotes. We've not really touched on quotes. So quotes are more like if you're wanting to send detailed proposals out, like ahead of the invoicing, then you can do that. So you can set up quote templates. So you see there's a web design example. So you can set up your templates. And in here, you can write as much data as you want. And you can do placeholders, so things like customer name. So you can set up your template, and then when it comes to actually adding a new quote, again, you'd assign it to a contact, and then you could say new website. So again, this is very specific to, for example, a web development agency, and you could say 1,000, and then you've got our web design there, or you can just use a blank template. So web design example, and then it'll populate it. And you can see here that it's filled in the data from before. So everything that was in there, it's filled in. So when you've done placeholders, it's just an easier way of making sure that you're not writing the same thing over and over. invoices we've looked at, and then transactions. They're either logged on the back of an invoice being paid, or if you're using something like WooSync, then or Stripe Sync or PayPal Sync, it'll import the transactions there. And then we've got various different tools that you can use throughout the CRM. So there's plenty of tools that you can add in with your extensions. So we've got a number of free extensions which are you can turn on and off. So if you don't want to use tasks, if you don't want to use quotes, you can deactivate them. If you don't want to use PDF invoices, and for example, or forms, you can again deactivate them from this area of the CRM. And then the premium paid extensions, so automations, I did a very quick click through, but we're going through that in a bit more detail on Thursday. But as I was saying, the triggers at the moment are all on like the new events. So you're having a new contact, you're having a new invoice, a new quote. We've not really covered other triggers yet. So things like a contact status change, it is logged, but at the moment we don't have anything that you can really do on the back of that. If you are comfortable with developing onto the CRM, you can use the hooks in there to do things. PayPal Sync, WooSync, and Stripe Sync, they're just ways of getting your data imported automatically. Invoicing Pro lets you set up your invoice and they can pay it from your website. So they get a link to the portal where they log in and then they can pay. Mail campaigns, again, that's for email marketing. So if you've got a contact list and you want to send them emails based on their tags or their status, or send them sequence of emails, then that's the extension for that. And we've got various other ones such as Sales Dashboard. If you're using WooSync, that gives you a nice little way of seeing like your store performance. So if you're using PayPal for running your store and using PayPal here, and people that are turning up and paying for goods, then you'll be able to have them automatically go into your CRM, and you'll be able to see like how things have been going on your sales dashboard. Various others like Gravity Forms. These are ways of getting like front-end forms on your website into the CRM. So if you have like a contact us page or a request a quote page, that can be used to get the data in there. Twilio is if you want to send SMS to your contacts. So if you have a contact and you want to drop them a quick text, and you can just, as long as you've got the mobile number in there, you can send them a text. There's quite a lot of extensions to cover. So, so with the CRM, again, you've got extension bundles. So if you're not going to bundle already, then these are the best value because you get access to all the extensions and any of our new CRM extensions. So if we release, say, a Facebook ads integration, then that would automatically be in your bundle. So you don't have to keep purchasing one-off extensions. These are your best bet currently. And so again, so if you see here, this is powered by Exit B. So this is what's called exit intent. So I was about to leave the website and it's come up and said, what's your email and name? We'll give you a bit more information. So this is capturing leads. And if you look at extensions, we have a integration with that. So we have an Exit B integration there where it'll get those people leaving into your website. So that's the extensions. And again, I didn't click no thanks, so no thanks. So we've got those extensions, and then we've also got coming soon. So if you've not seen the coming soon area, then this is where you can vote on extensions. So if you've got specific things that you're after in there, then you can vote on what you want to see next. So some of these are complementary products. So ZBS Inbox is going to be an additional product alongside the CRM. So at the moment you can use something like Groove to be your like support area or shared inbox. But again, you're giving your data to somewhere like Groove. So this is something that will run alongside the CRM and allow you to connect your inbox, your email client to your CRM. So at the moment, if you send an email out, then if they reply to that email, you just need to check in your Gmail or whatever your email client is. This will bring it all under one roof. Then we've got various other requests in here. So there's quite a lot on there. So if you've not seen this page before, it's worth going and casting your vote, because it does determine where we prioritize things. So again, so let me just send a link to that. So coming soon. So again, if you've not voted on anything on here, do recommend voting on things you'd like to see coming up. So this just gives us a way of seeing what's in most demands. So if there's something down at the bottom of the list, then it's worth making sure you vote for it. If you think, oh, it'd be really cool to have Project Panorama integrated, or even some other of these other options, then do make sure you are going in and casting your vote. So we've got plenty on here. So that's how we manage which of the bigger extensions to build next. So the other thing is requesting features in general. So if there's any areas of the CRM that either you're thinking, if you're used to another CRM like Zoho and it had it in Zoho, but you're not finding it in ZBS CRM, then it's either that we've not been asked for it, we've not been asked for it a lot, or it's something that we feel is like something that might only be specific for certain areas of Zoho, for example. So this is how we prioritize it. So first up, we log everything. So if you submit a feature request, we check to see if it's been added. If it's not, we add it to the list. Otherwise, we'll add your vote to it. If it's a bigger extension, then we'll add that. But we do have an overall stewardship of the CRM. So if it doesn't align with the general direction, then it's not going to be priority. So we don't want to have too many features in the CRM that it becomes difficult for people to use. So then it moves from the ideas to the features. And then if it's a brand new extension, then it will go onto the coming soon page, onto the product roadmap, and then you'll be able to vote on things there. So there you go. We have our coming soon page. So we don't have things listed on there like exporting from the contact list. So they just sit on our general core feature request list. And then whenever we do release things, we will send you, we'll notify you, we'll let you know. So we do products updates each month on the blog. So the one for January is coming out this week. Again, if you've not seen the product updates, we do one every month, and this will be our 21st. So this is a good way of checking in on what's been added in the prior month. Okay, so Larry's asked about callback scheduling. So we've got just enough time to cover this. So again, if you've got a contact in the CRM and they are a new contact, so I've come in as a lead, and the CRM, your CRM user has seen this lead in there. So then they're like, okay, I need to add a task. I need to call this person. So again, so we call Mike. So who's going to do it? This is which contact. So let's say Woody, and then this will have been populated with Mike. So Woody needs to call Mike, and he needs to do it on Friday. So he's going to call him on Friday. 6 a.m. seems a bit late, so I'll say 11. So there you go. So Woody's the CRM member in this example, and then Mike is the contact. So what you can say here is call to discuss an inquiry. So this will be a short call to discuss your inquiry about our awesome products. Save it. So there's some options on here. So it will remind Woody 24 hours before if he's not done it. So that will pop up and say, actually that's changed. Let's change that back. Yep. So it will remind him a day before. that he needs to call Mike. Show on the calendar is whether you want it to show on the actual calendar. I'll show you that in a minute. And then show on client portal if assigned to the contact. So I'm the contact here. So, and it's been ticked. So I'll show you what that means in a minute. So as long as you've got Client Portal Pro extension active, then the first thing, the show on the calendar, is it will show on the task calendar. So you'll be able to see on here that Woody's got a call. I don't know. I think I messed the dates up then. Yeah, on to the 15th of March. Okay, so it's 15th to the 15th. So let's fix that. So show on the calendar is the first one. So you want it to show on the task calendar. Yeah, so you see there that Woody's got a call on the 15th. And then the option of showing it on the client portal. So again, if I'm logged into the client portal, you'll see here that there's some appointments. So again, you can choose here on what to show. So these are a little bit small on this screen, but that's larger on others. So there's a call to discuss inquiry on the 15th. This will be a short call to discuss it. So if you want it to show to the actual client, and then you want them to be able to add it to their calendar, then that's where you need Client Portal Pro, because the tasks do give you the option there of showing on the contact calendar, but you can choose not to show that. So why a date range is, so if you're running the CRM, and there's a number of different things. So for example, say there's a specific so say there's a task calendar. So say you're running an event and Woody's dealing with an event for a person, so he's like doing a weekend workshop. It's just a bit more flexible. It gives you an option of saying, okay, Woody's going to be here for that weekend, or if you're just running it as a certain task. So again, let's pick myself. So task name here could be Mike AWOL. And so there's no context in this case, but let's say I'm AWOL then, and save. So this is a way of, because it's showing on the calendar and it's reminding me. So I'm the team member. It just gives a bit of added flexibility if you wanted to have your team in there, and so say Woody logs on and he can see that I'm not around. So it's just it's a bit of a mixed purpose task calendar. So we call it a task calendar because it's a way of like adding things to do for contacts. But if you can also use it to just like block areas out on here. So if Woody goes on and it's a reminder that I'm AWOL, so he may need to pick up on any tasks that might be falling due. Okay, so again, that's the overview of the CRM. So again, product updates, if you want to follow what's going on with the CRM, what we've been adding as we go along. But then also, we've got a road to version 3. So this gives you a little bit more information about what we're working on in the road to version 3. So if you've not seen that, again, let me share it. So you can visit. So this gives you a little bit more information about what's coming up with version 3. So it covers what we're working on, and like I said, we're not too far away. A lot of it is data work to make things a little bit easier, like being able to import and export a little bit easier. So be able to export from the contact lists without having to export everybody, for example. And so it just makes working with things a little bit easier. And then also, as I said, some of those tags and triggers even around if an invoice status changes or if a quote status goes from not accepted to accepted. So you see here that you've got a quote that I did before. It was accepted. So you'd be able to run things on the back of this. So a lot of it is getting the data ready to then be able to do more more of these finer automations. Okay, and I will do. Yeah, so again, if you've got any other support issues, do send it through to the support desk. And Larry, as you know, we've been having some issues with receiving emails from you, so we will check that Google area. And we'll add some comments to that, and then it should notify you on there. And okay, no problem. So thanks for attending, everybody. Again, version 3 is coming very soon, and the price is going up. So version 3, this is our current pricing. So version 2, if you've already purchased, then you're fine. This is what pricing that you're on, and it won't change. And so unless you cancel and rejoin, then you're always going to be on either whichever bundle you've joined. So if you're on the Entrepreneur bundle, it'll be $199 per year. If we increase price, well, when we increase prices in a few weeks and your renewal comes up, you'll be renewed at the $199 as long as you purchased before. So lock in now to version 2. Otherwise, this is our version 3 pricing. So once it's launched, again, if you purchase before we launch it, then you get the version 2. But otherwise, this is how it's being structured for version 3. So once version 3 is out, then if you've not purchased already, now's the time. Otherwise, you'll be needing to grab it at these higher prices. And you'll notice here that the mail campaigns version 2 will be in its own bundle. But again, if you purchased at version 2's pricing and you've already got access to it, then you've got access to it. We don't remove it. And the general timeline, as we were saying before, so version 2 of mail campaigns is pretty much there. We've finished the beta now, and it's just going through its final refinements. And then the complete database migration. So we've already done the contacts of it, and that's been in for a while, but the rest of them, like invoices and quotes, that's all being migrated to make things easier, like automations and whatnot. So thanks for attending, everybody. And if you do have any further follow-on questions after the webinar, do just send them through to the support. We do also have the community. So we hang around in Slack pretty much every day. So if you want to catch either myself or Woody, it's definitely worth joining that. So if you're not in there, then that just gives us a way of joining and pinging us a message. So it's a little bit more reliable than, because if you have a big long email back and forth, sometimes they can start getting blocked. Whereas Slack, you can be in there and we're pretty much always in there. So just either ping a message in general where everybody else hangs out, but if it's support related, just ping it either direct to myself or to Woody, depending on who's best to pick up with a query. Okay, excellent. So thank you, everybody. And as always, this will be up on our YouTube channel. So if you've not subscribed to YouTube, then please do make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. So I'll quickly bring that up. And I'll share the link. I'm not signed in. So search the OBS CRM on YouTube. Then you'll see that all of our videos and webinars are up there from the previous ones, and there's also some other smaller snippets. So the sales dashboard run through that I did last week, the more detailed product tours, and then some of the things like mail campaigns masterclass, as well as some of the shorter like walkthrough videos on our YouTube channel. So if you've not subscribed, then if you do subscribe and you miss a webinar, then you'll be notified and it will be shown up there. So please do subscribe, and then you don't need to worry about missing some of these webinars. If you can't attend it live, it'll know we add them pretty much straight away back up to the YouTube, and then you'll be able to either watch it via the replay link that you get sent to if you signed up. But even if you've not signed up, then as long as you subscribe to YouTube, then you'll get a notification that we've added a new video and you can watch it at your leisure. Okay, so brilliant. Again, I'm actually going to go now. So thank you, everybody, for attending, and until next time.